Thanks, Ian. So, moving on from Max Weber's theory of bureaucracy, we now have Frederick Taylor's theory of scientific management. This theory was developed in the 20th century by Frederick Taylor, who was a businessman just like Henry Fayol, but unlike Fayol, he concentrated on the micro level of organizational functioning. This means that he was more focused on the relationship between managers and employees and the control of an individual at work. Frederick first developed this theory because he grew irritated with how the standard business operations were at the beginning of the 20th century. There were several issues initially concerning Frederick Taylor. The first issue was that most tasks at the time in organizations were learned by newcomers by observing the previous coworkers who had the experience and knowledge. But there was a major problem that lied with that because if the people with the experience that were teaching them were doing a bad job teaching them or teaching them incorrectly, then obviously the new people would be taught the wrong thing, and in return it would make the business operations worse. The second issue involved the manner in which individuals were paid. At the turn of the century, people were being paid using a method called piecework pay, and this is essentially if a bricklayer was to get paid 1 penny per 5 bricks he lay, that would mean that he would get 20 cents per hour if he laid 100 bricks in an hour. But a new worker could come on the job and let's say he lays 200 bricks in an hour. Their manager would see that and assume that since he laid 200 bricks, everyone else should be able to lay 200 bricks per hour. And because of that, he would drop the rate from 1 penny per 5 bricks to 1 penny per 10 bricks. And because of the increased productivity, they lost wages. So workers really tried to keep a mental note to slow down the productivity so they can keep their wages, because if they worked harder, then they would essentially get paid less. Because of these issues, Frederick Taylor developed his system of scientific management, and there are 4 major components to this theory. The first one is that there is one best way to do every job. Frederick Taylor believed that this can be determined through time and motion studies. For example, an organization could test out a dozen different ways to do one job, and through time and observation of the studies, they could determine the one best way to do the job and teach all the employees at the organization that one method. And the second and third components of this theory kind of go hand in hand. His second principle requires the proper selection of workers, and his third principle considers the importance of training workers in the manner suggested by the time and motion studies. Frederick Taylor believed that each worker should be scientifically selected, and if a worker was doing a particular job already and they were determined to be better at something else, they should be moved immediately. For example, if a bricklayer was discovered to be better at hauling dirt, he should immediately be changed to hauling dirt. And if someone was determined to have average skills or not be good enough to even be on the job, they should be immediately fired. And the fourth component for Frederick Taylor's system of scientific management is that there is an inherent difference between management and employees. Frederick Taylor believed that organizational managers are best suited for thinking, planning, and administrative tasks. In contrast, organizational workers are best suited for labor. He then advocates that laborers are best suited to be working under management who is scientifically selected so that the organization can move and work most efficiently. So in a nutshell, that is what Frederick Taylor's theory of scientific management is about. After learning about Henry Fayol's theory of classical management, Max Weber's theory of bureaucracy, and Frederick Taylor's theory of scientific management, we really hope that you have come away with a better understanding of classical approaches. And we appreciate you taking the time to listen to us, and thank you.